Hello friends, welcome to Dungeons & Dragonfly, where I adapt various characters for use in D&D. I'm Dragonfly9078, and today's request comes from Milo. This is Jiraiya from Naruto. Thinking about goals for the build, Jiraiya is a ninja, but he's not like an actual ninja, he's a Naruto ninja, so we'll need ninja magic, like elemental techniques and pooping away when we get hit. And Jiraiya isn't your average everyday magic ninja either. He's also a toad man who harnesses natural energy, so we'll need to get some big froggy friends. For ability scores, I'll be using the standard point array. Multi-classing minimums are Wisdom and Charisma, so keep an eye on those if you're rolling at home. First up is Strength. We're a big dude who hits hard, followed by Wisdom at 14. We're also an old dude with a lot of life experience. Constitution is 13. Jiraiya has to be durable to survive Tsunade's punches, and Charisma is 12. We need it to multi-class, and Jiraiya is a likable guy for the most part. Then Intelligence is 10, and we'll dump Dexterity. We don't really need either one, but Jiraiya does run an intelligence network, so I chose to put that a little bit higher. We'll go with Variant Human, since in Naruto, humans are, in fact, human, just with a little extra. Round off Strength and Constitution, take Performance for the skill for some Kabuki-esque introductions, and the Shadow-Touched feat. That'll bump our Charisma to acceptable levels for multiclassing, and give us Disguise Self and Invisibility for our Transformation and Transparent Escape techniques respectively, the latter of which Jiraiya actually created himself. We can cast each of those once per day without a spell slot, and if we happen to get spell slots, we can also use those to cast them. As the Toad Sage, who uses Sage mode and has the nickname Pervy Sage, it feels appropriate to use the Sage background to get proficiency in Arcana and Nature. We'll start off as a Druid for proficiency in Insight and Perception, as well as Druid spells. We get 2 cantrips. My picks are Guidance and Create Bonfire, and access to first level spells like Animal Friendship and Beast Bond to charm animals, then communicate with them telepathically. Detect Magic will let us sense chakra, and Absorb Elements lets us seal enemy attacks and unleash them later on. Second level druids get Wild Shape to turn into beasts. Yes, frogs are an option, but we can't take anything with a swimming speed yet, so instead we can use Wild Companion to cast Find Familiar as an action by expending a use of our Wild Shape. If we do, the familiar, which can of course be a frog, counts as a fae instead of a beast, and only sticks around for however long our wild shape would last. We'll also join the Circle of the Primeval from the brand new Giant options on Earthed Arcana. That makes us a Keeper of the Old, giving us proficiency in History and adding a d4 to any history checks we make. And we can expend a use of our wild shape as an action to summon a Primeval Companion. This is a medium beast that looks however we like, so like a giant frog in our case, and that will fight alongside of us. The whole stat block is in the Unearthed Arcana, so I won't go into it, but it shares our initiative and does nothing on its turn but move and dodge unless we use our bonus action to give it orders. Our froggy friend will stick around until either it dies or we do, or until we summon it again. For second level spells, Beast Sense lets us see through animals' eyes, Animal Messenger sends a frog off to deliver a message coded in one of our romance novels, and we get some nice elemental options like Flaming Sphere and Gust of Wind. There's also Enlarge Reduce to make our Primeval Companion large enough to ride. We'll pick up the Observant feat at 4th level to get +1 Wisdom, +5 Passive Perception and Investigation, the ability to read lips, useful for a Spy Master, and the Frostbite cantrip. That's not from the Observant feat, that's just something else we get at 4th level. We can also now wild shape into swimming creatures of CR 1/2 or less, which includes both the frog and the giant frog. For 3rd level spells, we can summon even more frogs with Conjure Animals, and we get more elements with Tidal Wave, Erupting Earth, Wind Wall, and Call Lightning, plus protection from energy and Water Walk, since all good ninjas can water walk. 6th level Primeval Druids are prehistoric conduits. If we cast a spell that doesn't have a range of self, we can have it originate from either us or from our Primeval Companion. Also, if our companion has to make a save against one of our own spells, it has advantage on that save, and evasion against that spell, meaning that they take no damage on a success and half damage on a fail. It's actually better than regular evasion, since evasion usually only works on dexterity saves, and this works on all saves. Plus, even if the companion fails, they don't take any additional effects besides half damage. It would be great if it affected spells that weren't cast by us. At 7th level, we get 4th level spells, meaning that in addition to elemental options like Wall of Fire and Watery Sphere, and Polymorph to turn other people into frogs, we get our Sage mode with Guardian of Nature. We can turn into an animalistic primal beast form that increases our walking speed by 10 feet, gives us 120 feet of dark vision, lets us make strength-based attack rolls with advantage, and adds a d6 of force damage to our melee weapon attacks. We can turn into CR1 creatures at 8th level. We could already turn into a giant frog, but now we can turn into a giant toad, which is a different thing for some reason. It's bigger and stronger, so I'm not going to question it too much. We can also round off our wisdom and charisma with our ability score improvement. Commune with nature feels like an appropriate spell to take, as do Wall of Stone and Maelstrom. Plus, we can take Transmute Rock for our Swamp of the Underworld to trap enemies in thick mud. We get another cantrip at 10th level, I'll say Druidcraft, and since we're a Primeval Druid, we have a Titanic Bond. Our companion becomes large permanently, and when we summon it, we can give it either a swimming or climbing speed. Both are frog appropriate, so pick whichever's more useful. Different toads for different situations. Also, once per turn, if our companion is summoned, we can force a creature we damage with a spell or attack to make a wisdom save, frightening them for a round if they fail. There aren't really that many 6th level spells that I want, but Bones of the Earth is always fun, so we'll pick that up. Then we'll bump Strength to 18 at 12th level, and move on to 13th level for 7th level spells, like Plane Shift to visit the toads on their mountain, and Firestorm for the big Toad Oil Flame Bullet combination attack. We'll finish off Primeval Druid at 14th level for Scourge of the Ancients. When we command our companion with our bonus action, we can also burn a spell slot to empower them. They become huge and get a number of temporary HP equal to 10 times the expended slot level. Their strike attack deals an extra 1d8 plus the slot level damage, and their walking speed increases by a number of feet equal to 5 times the slot level. Those benefits last for an hour or until we empower them again, so it doesn't stack, unfortunately. That's all we're taking from Druid, so now let's actually sign the Toad contract and become a Warlock, specifically of the Archfey. First level Archfey Warlocks have a Fey presence. Once per rest, we can force creatures in a 10-foot cube originating from ourself to make a Wisdom save, either charming or frightening them for a round on a fail. Obviously, charm the women, frighten the men. For spells, take Prestidigitation and Minor Illusion, along with Expeditious Retreat to run from bathhouses, and Armor of Agathis for our Needle Hair defense. It's cold damage, not piercing damage, but meh. We do get invocations at 2nd level, but we're going to retrain basically all of them in a bit, so just ignore those for now and take Sleep from the Archfey spell list. We'll pick up Pact of the Blade at 3rd level to summon a melee weapon into our hand. Personally, I think Pact of the Chain is a little bit more fitting, but we already have Find Familiar from Druid, and I want some Pact of the Blade exclusive invocations. For 2nd level spells, Mirror Image summons some illusory replicas to take hits, which is essentially the basic clone jutsu. And Spider Climb lets us wall walk to go along with our water walking. We did that out of order, but meh. If you really want to take Warlock levels earlier, you certainly can. We also get one last ability score improvement here. My pick is the Tough Feat for 40 extra HP by level 20, but I could also see taking Mounted Combatant to give our Primeval Companion actual evasion while we're riding them. At 5th level, we finally get our Pact of the Blade specific invocations. Thirsting Blade lets us attack twice with our Pact weapon, and Eldritch Smite lets us burn a Warlock spell slot once per turn when we hit with our Pact weapon to deal an extra 4d8 force damage and knock the target prone if it's huge or smaller. This is going to be our stand-in for the Rasengan. For 3rd level Warlock spells, I want to represent Jiraiya's sealing expertise a little more before we're done, so we'll pick up Remove Curse here and Dispel Magic at 6th level. Speaking of 6th level, that's also our capstone, and since we're an Archfey Warlock, we get Misty Escape. Once per rest, when we take damage, we can use our reaction to turn invisible and teleport up to 60 feet away. Then we stay invisible until our next turn starts, or until we make an attack or cast a spell, whichever one comes first. That'll serve as our replacement technique. We also get one last invocation, Mire the Mind, which lets us spit out some sticky toad oil using a Warlock spell slot to cast Slow once per day. So now that we're done, how did we do? Well, between Scourge of the Ancients and Enlarge Reduce, we have a pet that can be Gargantuan, the biggest size category in the game. And thanks to our Wild Shapes and Warlock spell slots returning on short rest, we can keep summoning new frogs and making them huge every hour if we really need to travel for a good distance over land. We're also tricky and versatile, with good mobility and a variety of options in combat to keep our opponents guessing. On the other hand, our dexterity and intelligence are bad. We can mitigate the dexterity penalty to our AC by calling our mesh bodysuit chainmail and just making it a flat 16, but we are going to suffer against some very common saving throws. And this is more of a flavor fail, but I really would prefer Pact of the Chain. If we didn't need Eldritch Smite for the Rasengan, then that would have absolutely been my pick, since Jiraiya doesn't usually use weapons, but he summons frogs all the time. And that's Jiraiya. I hope you enjoyed the build. If you have any feedback or suggestions for characters you'd like to see me build, please let me know. Thanks again to Milo for the request, and thank you all for watching, friends. I will see y'all later.